Hi everyone, I'm Blaze here. This video is going to be on various different tasks, various different objectives you should probably have going into Velious on Mangler. So I'm here on P99 to show off some of the items that you might want to get come Velious. Absolutely. So, let's get started, shall we? Oh, by the way, thank you, Lout. Lout was the one who came up with this idea. So, the first thing I say that you should do come Velious dropping is get some keys. Now there's 3 keys as far as I'm aware of in Velious. That being the one for the Sleeper's Tomb, which that's more for niche circumstances, so in that regard, not necessarily it's a non-necessity. However, there's 2 keys that I absolutely think that everybody should get as soon as possible. So it is the Shrine Key and Tooth of Cobalt Scar. So the first key you should get is a Shrine Key. And how that works, let's see, P99 Shrine Key. The key to Cobalt Scar, and it comes from this guy called Ziglark Whisperwing. I'm going to put a link in the description towards a video I have of a guide through Sky Shrine. But what this is, in order to get to a lot of the more end-tier content in Velious, you need to be able to get through Cobalt Scar. And the only way to do that is with this Shrine Key. So this guy, you can kill him to get the key. That's actually the most easy thing to do. He's not that hard. Or you can do a quest for him if you're concerned about your faction. Which I think you need 200 platinum. Yeah, you need 200 platinum. You run to Kale. You give the money and some message to him. And then he gives you an item back. Run back to Sky Shrine, turn it in, and you get the key. So that gets you the Shrine Key. And the Shrine Key is used right here on the map. So you zone in, do your whole path entirely up. And then there's this little dragon idol with like an orb on it. And you take the key out, click it, and it lets you... It ports you to Cobalt Scar. And then while you're there in Cobalt Scar, you're going to want to get the second key that I mentioned, being this thing, the Tooth of Cobalt Scar. So the way that porting works in Velious is that you need to have OC show. The way porting in Velious works is many of the porting rings, from my understanding, are combined Wizard and Druid. They both go to the same spot. But in order for you to be eligible to go there, for the spell to even work on you, you need to have these droppable fangs or tooths that are ground spawns at those port rings. So from my understanding, the port locations are Iceclad, they are Awakening Lands, and Cobalt Scar. I think those are the 3 main port locations. And in order to be able to use those rings, you have to have the associated key, or the key that's the zone beyond. These zones are backwards compatible. These keys are backwards compatible. So if you have the Cobalt Scar key, you're actually able to port to every single other location in Velious. So that's why you want to get this key. So you need the Shrine Key to get into Cobalt Scar, and then when you're in Cobalt Scar, you run to the end of this little icy bridge thing and go to the port area and get this fang off the ground. And that'll let you port anywhere within Velious. The other thing I would say, also one of the nice things to do in Velious, I should show this real quick. In Velious, I think they come out with something called Velium. use like a new crafting material, especially for jewel crafters, this is an incredibly useful resist bracelet that you can't get until Velious, from my understanding. Blue diamond bracelet. So I've been saving up blue diamonds actually. And I'll talk about the gear in a bit. One of the best items I'd say in Velious to get is actually the Coldane Shawl quest line. So let me type that in. So the Coldane Shawl quests, what they are, they're a series of trade skilling quests primarily. They're a series of trade skilling quests where you go into the world, get various different ingredients, combine them together, and they make a shoulder item. They make a shoulder piece. There's 7 total quests during Velious era, and there's an 8th that gets added later. But the end shawl is this. That's not bad. So the end shawl is this. It's stat-wise, it's nothing too crazy for shoulders. It's pretty good for casters in that regard. I think, yeah, it's great for wisdom or intelligence casters. The biggest thing is this flowing thought 1, which is an extra 1 tick of mana regen. It takes a lot of effort to get this shawl. If you want to see, I've actually been working on getting my trade skilling up on Aeonic. I have everything. I have all these skills on Aeonic except for jewel crafting, which is super, super expensive to do. But the whole point of it is you do this series of quests, various different combines with the ingredients. And if you have a high enough trivial, these are the maximum trivials you'll really need. If you have skills that are up to this, you have a only 5% chance of failure on combine. That's why you want to do this, because some of these ingredients, some of these reagents for the crafting parts are incredibly expensive. But why I really like this Rune Coldane Prayer Shawl, why I'm actually going to the effort of getting it on Aeonic, on Mangler, is that this Flowing Thought items are one of the only things in the entire game that can modify Bard mana regen. There's almost nothing that does. Clarity does absolutely nothing for bards, as well as their own mana songs. Bards cannot really take advantage of most forms of mana regeneration. So the most that you'll get back without any Flowing Thought items is 1 mana per tick standing up, or 2 for sitting down, and bards really can't sit down because twisting requires them to stand. So I think this is actually one of the best in slot items for a bard, to be honest. You might think, oh well, bards don't really need mana. Yes and no. Charming is really the major notable ability that bards use for mana. The level 39 song, it's called Solon's Bewitching Bravura. On P99 it costs 20 mana for 15 seconds of duration, but on live it costs 60 mana for a full minute. So if you take into consideration calculator. So if you're only getting 1 mana per tick, and I think each tick is about 4 seconds, and it costs 60 mana. So that means it's going to take 60 ticks to get enough, 60 ticks standing to get enough mana to get another charm on live. And times that by 4 seconds, that comes out to 240 seconds, divided by 60. And that means it's going to be 4 minutes. You're going to have to wait 4 minutes. If you die or you go OOM, it's going to take you a full 4 minutes to be able to get 1 charm back on a bard. And charm is an incredibly useful means of crowd control. I was top DPS on a parse doing a Nagafen fight, playing a bard using charm. So I was one of the top DPS on parse, charming as a bard on a raid. And it's it's incredibly useful if you're a bard that likes to charm kite, which is really one of the only soloing methods that's still available on live. If you like to charm kite, you need mana regen. So it'll take you 4 minutes without any flowing thought items. But if you do have flowing thought, so that'll be 2 ticks, it'll be 2 mana per tick, and you have 60. It costs 60 mana for the charm, so that will be 60 divided by 2. So it'll take 30 ticks to get enough mana to do a charm. 30 times 4 seconds. 120 seconds to get a charm. Divide that by 60. 2. So if you have the Coldain Shawl, the N tier, which is 1 extra regen, it'll take you half as long to get another charm. 2 minutes, which is not that bad, to be honest. 2 minutes is significantly better than 4. 2 minutes to be able to have another charm is not that bad. It makes things much more sustainable. And come Velious, come Lucklin or Luklin, however people say it. I always say Lucklin. Luklin or whatever. There's another flowing thought item, so you could boost it up to 3. There might be more, but I have no experience really with this game past Velious, so I don't know. So yeah, this item is huge, and it's great for other casters as well. Absolutely great for other casters. So definitely recommended. There's a whole list of various different items you want to get. It's just a lot of drops from a lot of different mobs, ice giants, a bunch of the animals. And yep, keep in mind all the skills. Not bad items, even probably worth equipping prior. I think the biggest killer is going to be Tailoring. Tailoring is really hard to level up because you have to go out and farm reagents. And jewel crafting is just incredibly expensive. Everything else is not that bad, to be honest. The only thing that stinks is that jewel crafting, the reason you have to level these skills up is because a lot of the items that you receive from doing the combines, the trade skilling combines, are no drop. So you can't have anybody else do it for you. You have to do it yourself. And the thing that sucks about jewel craft is that if you're not an enchanter, you can't enchant any of the jewel crafting reagents, so you can't make magical jewelry that's actually worth something. So it makes your money investment essentially worthless, to be honest. But let's continue on to the next thing. Let's talk about some various different... Oh, the big thing. The biggest thing that come Velious, beyond the Coldain Shawl quest, are the armor quests. So a big thing about how Velious works is you have 3 primary factions. You have the Thurgodan Dwarves. You have the Giants and Kale. And you have... It's kind of cool. You got the Thurgodan Dwarves, the Giants and Kale, and you have the Dragons. You have the Sky Shrine Dragons. So each one of these faction groups has their own various armor quests. So let me look it up. So let's look up today the Thurgodan armor quest, P99. Thurgodan armor. This is the lowest tier. Yeah, here it is. So, say for bards, you have the Resonant Armor, which comes from Resonant, from Thurgodan, Troubadour Armor from Kale, and the Sky Shrine Armor from for Twilight. So from my understanding, the Resonant Armor comes from drops in Kale from an area called Plate House. The Kale Armor drops from an area in TOV, I think it's West TOV, Temple of Ishan. And the Sky Shrine Armor, the Twilight Armor, those pieces drop from Halls of Testing in Temple of Ishan. Melodic Armor, there's a Plane of Mischief, which is Bristlebane's area. I think you get to that plane by
TOV, and then you get to Plane of Growth by Awakening Lands. But these are armor drops. They aren't quested, I don't believe, except some are. Some are quested. But these are dropped. Some of these pieces are dropped. So I think some of the best. Twilight Armor is amazing. And I love the graphics too on the Velious armor. I mean, it just looks so sweet. Let me go Dark Elf. This is some of the Velious armors it is. I don't like the Half Elf one as much. I think the human armor graphics are incredible. This is pretty cool looking. This is actually pretty cool looking. For the Dark Elf. Let me take a look at some other. Ixar, Mask of Obtenebration. That's all I got, but this would be Erudite. So yeah, there's some pretty cool armor sets that come out. Pretty cool looking armor sets and huge upgrades. I think the best tier I'd argue to say is the Kale and the Skyshrine armor. Absolutely. They are the best tier. Let me compare. Let's see. Troubadour's breastplate versus the Twilight Armor breastplate. Ah, I see. So the Twilight Armor has better resists, but the Kale Armor seems to have better stats. It doesn't even have stamina though. I think the Skyshrine armor is better than that. Let's look at the Greaves. It varies for class, you know, of course, but I prefer the Skyshrine armor, to be honest. It's not like either of them are really that bad, but yeah, that extra resist, they definitely help out. And one of the key points about this, so you need to have good ally faction, and most of these you need to have very high faction with each one of these groups in order to be eligible to do the turn-ins for the quest. And as well, you typically need these gem pieces in order to do it. The most valuable gem pieces being crushed flame emeralds. These things are very useful because they're for monks. I mean, they're used for every wrist piece, but for monks, they allow them to have a summon pouch of Velious, which is basically infinite throwing items, which have a humongous range. So these are really loved by monks. It's one of the best things a monk can get come this expansion. So yeah, those are the armor quests. Absolutely nice to do. Some other various pieces of armor that I can show. So one of them that I will show, this is called the Bracer of Hammerfall. This is a summonable, summons these Shattering Hammers. This is another form of infinite throwing pieces. It's got a bit of a shorter range, but hey, it's something. It's absolutely something you can use. And it might be an upgrade for some caster classes. But definitely nice if you don't have any infinite means of summoning pulling items. Absolutely. And that quest is it's done in Skyshrine. It's a pretty simple quest, it's just a lot of running. Bracer of Hammerfall. And it costs a bit of money to do. You're definitely going to want to have a druid or something to help you out with this. It's just the Sentry Kale mob that's in the Skyshrine. You you have to get the right version of this guy has to be up. But you need some money if I remember right. Yeah, you need 50 platinum, and then you need a note from this guy. Go run to Thurgadin, turn it in, and then you have a chance to possibly get this bracer. It's not a 100%. It took me about four trials. But eventually, if you keep trying, you'll get it. It costed me about 300 platinum to do this quest, so it's not that bad. Really not that bad at all. Another item that I will mention that you might want to do is the Ice Forged Shackles. And what that is actually this right here. This is actually a really nice bracer. The Velium shards, it's a clicky nuke for like 5 damage. It's really not worth it, to be honest, and it has a super short range. But it's pretty nice stats, and it's not that ridiculous to get. It's just 2 droppable items off of raptors and the flying monkeys, the Holgreshes, in Awakening Lands. Really not that bad of an item. If you can't get the Bracers of Benevolence because of how ridiculous they are. And that leads me to segue into the Bracers of Benevolence themselves. So I have a little list here. So the Bracers of Benevolence. This is from the Scout quest. I think I actually have a piece. Scout Tools quest. Lutz's task. Lutz's task. And what this is a mob in Sky Shrine. And I think you get the Scout Tools from him for free. Then you run through Cobalt Scar, you run through Siren's Grotto, and then pretty much at the entrance of Western Wastes is a mob called Scout Carissa, who has a 10-hour respawn on P99. I have no clue what it's going to be on live. I hope it's significantly reduced because it's just absolutely stupid the amount of time that you can spend here. People will do a /ran 1000. It's called Scout Roll. They do a /ran 1000. Whoever's highest gets to turn in their Scout Tools to Carissa. And that spawns a bunch of giants in Western Wastes. And all you have to do is kill the captain, I believe, and get a broken disc. And then you turn that broken disc to Carissa. And you get various different items. So you can get this robe of Benevolence, which is pretty nice. Actually, I think that's a really good robe for an enchanter. That's a really good chest piece for an enchanter. The Talisman of Benevolence. This is 15 wisdom and 55 mana. Holy smokes, and its range. That's an incredible thing for clerics, druids, and shamans. For bards in melees, this is incredible. This is best in slot in Velious, as far as I'm concerned, for bards and many melee classes. Because look at the resists on this thing: 5 fire, 12 cold, but 12 magic. This is better than those blue diamond Velium bracelets. And these stats on this: 8 strength, 8 stamina. It's just insane. It's got the same graphic as the bracer I have on right now, my understanding. So this is actually best in slot. And what's cool, if you notice, it's not lore. You can actually have 2 of them. So I remember seeing Lout, he had those. Took him a long time though, and you have to get lucky. So I'm hoping that the Scout rule isn't the same. Let me see. Loses task. EverQuest. I hope it's not the same on live. What does it say on Alakazam? I don't know. I don't know because it doesn't say if in era. Let me see if it says anything about Scout Carissa. Failure 4 hours, respawn after win 10 hours. Okay, so it might still be, but I don't know. That's 2016. I don't know if they changed it. Hopefully they did. Yeah. Hmm. Oh. And it can lead to some pretty sketchy play. At least on P99, they have the roll just to make it somewhat civil. Okay, so the next thing I will mention is the Nereid Shawl, which is this, which I think is actually arguably best in slot for enchanters. 25 charisma, all that. I don't like the minus strength, but the 10 intelligence. This drops in Siren's Grotto, and what I love about it, a really cool illusion. Yeah, that's a really cool illusion. Water elemental. But here's the great thing about it. It actually is a effect water breathing. It gives you water breathing underwater. So it's actually an enduring breath illusion. The only issue I have with it is it could possibly be dispelled. So you have to be careful about that. Absolutely. So I find that to be incredibly useful. Another illusion that's incredibly useful is Loot of the Howler. So let me work this out. It's not that incredible of an instrument. It's worse than the one that you get in Hate. But it gives you Illusion Werewolf, which from my understanding is a significant haste boost. It gives you Infravision. It gives you a boost in strength, and it boosts your haste. And the favorite thing that I love doing with this illusion is I like to go run around the Karanas and just go chasing noobs invisibility and scaring the absolute crap out of them. I actually have it in a video where I scared some guy. It was great. But let me see how much the haste is. Werewolf. Loot of the Howler. Let's see what it says. Illusion Werewolf gives you a 40% haste. That's not bad. And it boosts attack, too. Enchanters get a spell that lets them do a group-wide, from my understanding. So that's actually a really nice illusion. Helps out bards. Absolutely. The next piece of gear, well, the next illusion I'd like to mention, I think this is one of the coolest. I think Barbarian is the coolest race in the game. Blade Barbarian Hide Mask. This is a very rare drop, though. Comes off of the Avatar of War. I think this is a best in slot face item for bards and rogues. Illusion Barbarian, huge stats, huge stats. Gives you the ability to slam too, yeah. That's so cool. That is so cool. And the other mask that drops in that is Mask of the Tinkers. So this drops, yeah, in Kale. The Mask of the Tinkers. Tinkering, Mask of Tinkering. This is a gnome illusion mask that can be used by bards and rogues. And it drops in Sleeper's Tomb. And I think it's a limited item drop. So that can be useful for wall hacks, to be able to see through walls. But I think with the Halfling Illusion Mask, with that desiccated Halfling Illusion Mask, you can see through most things fine. The next item that I would recommend people to get to come in this expansion. So right now there's Drusilla Sathir, who drops the Necklace of Superiority of the Nos, which has +4 to all statistics from my understanding. Necklace of Superiority. Yeah, it's a +5. You can get a better item than this. I only have a +4. But basically, on these dragons in Western Wastes, you can kill them. These dragons that are outside of TOV. I think Aelish is one of the best ones. There's these +6 necklaces, +5 necklaces, and +4 necklaces. The +6 necklaces, Aelish talisman. It's like this. Really great stats. And +6 to almost all your major resists, which is tremendous, tremendous. And I think they're used for even a quest. Yeah, they might be even used for a quest. There's a +7. Holy smokes. Yeah. +6 are dropped in Western Ways. All these +4, +5, +6. So not that bad. And there's one other quest I wanted to mention. And oh, these are all so everybody can use them. One other quest I wanted to mention, which is Usability Research. So if you've gone and killed Finnegal, Yale, and you got these fusible ores, you go to this guy who wanders around in as a weird base graphic. This guy who wanders around in Western Waste, and you can get this shoulder piece right here. That's all 15 strength, 100 hit points. I think this is probably incredible for tank classes, to be honest. This is a really good shoulder item. Best in slot probably for tanks. As a bard, that Flowing Thought, the Cold Shawl, is arguably better, just because the extra mana regen. But yeah, if you're a tank class, I think this thing is absolutely incredible. That's a really great shoulder item to have. The next things I'm aware of are the Lotus drops. So I actually have 2 of them. I've actually been saving up Chrono because of this piece. Lotus can't be DZ'd. You can't make an instance for it. So with Lotus it drops this shield, which is incredible for resist. Look at that, 10 magic, 20 cold, 20 fire. This is what actually put me over the edge to get maximum resist. But it's a worn enduring breath item, so it made having the Singing Steel gauntlets or having a rebreather, it made it pointless. I actually have a equipable item now that has enduring breath, so I can't be dispelled. Say if I go down to Kedge Keep, or I think there's a zone called the Gray, or any of the future zones where you need enduring breath to be able to get through. This one, Turtle Lotus Shell boots. It's kind of hard to find a really good boot for bards outside of what I think I already have arguably best in slot on Aeonic on Mangler, and that dropped off the Chardock revamp. But this was one of the better items prior. It would give you a slight AC buff. It's a shaman spell. It's kind of not really worth replacing, even for a lot of the Sky Shrine armor. But I think there's some other things that Lotus also happens to have that's quite valuable, so definitely that. I'm definitely going to be getting a Lotus Shell shield, though, on Aeonic on Mangler. That's why I'm not a huge fan of the Cloak of Flames is useful for the haste, but stat-wise, this is better for resists. This is the thing that put me over 120 magic, fire, and cold to make me really raid viable in certain circumstances, as well as when I added these tremendously helped that too. But the Bracers of Benevolence, I think so long as you're not fighting a poison or disease dragon, these are great. Absolutely great. And the Bracers of Benevolence will do it good too. And now let's talk about what the best drum that I'm aware of in the game. Drums of the Beast. I don't know what these drop off of. says Siren's Grotto, but the drums that I currently have, Silo's Drums of the March on Aeonic on Mangler, are a 24 mod. This is a 26 that has an Enduring Breath casting, which doesn't matter, but this is 2 points higher. And I think there's a haste cap on P99, so this doesn't even matter. Because after you have a drum at I think as long as you have a 23 mod drum, you can hit max speed once you're high enough in level. With this, I don't know, but I think it can still modify your percussion songs. So your resist songs and say like Occlusion of Sound or something. I think it can still modify those, but it might not modify Silos. I'm not sure how it is on live though. I'm interested to know if you can go even faster than what you can on P99. If there is a haste cap on live. So yeah, there's this item. And there's a bunch of different spells that come out come Velious, and extra disciplines that you get. So I know bards get Pure Tone. I think they also get Death Dance. I think rangers get some stuff. I think warriors get some stuff. So a lot of classes, they get new disciplines come the drop of this expansion. And there's a lot more new abilities. I think Necros get a new Lich line. There's a couple new spells, group spells for various different classes. I think Necro's group DMF spell is finally craftable, trade skilling without having to be a drop. So it gets cheaper. And from my understanding, what's the other thing? At least for what I know for bards, there's two big things that bards get. If you're leveling up a bard, they'll get this spell, Antenna Soothing, which does not drop till Velious, which replaces Cassandra's Chorus of Clarity and Hymn of Restoration. But if you go on farther, I think another spell bards get Shield of Song. This is not this, at least on live. It's not until Velious, which is like a rune. You get Melody of Ravage. You get Ravage. My understanding is a over haste that can go over the cap. From my understanding, I don't know though. I don't know if I would even really use this because the damage shield twist I have, even if you are hitting the haste cap, having a 47 damage hit by myself, the damage shield is pretty dang useful, much more so than going 10% over. But there's that. It's going to be easy to hit the haste cap. There's that, and there's another song that is incredibly useful for bards, and it's this one, Occlusion of Sound. And I think it still works the same on live, from my understanding. It is a must-have raid song for bards. It is a unresistible debuff of fire, cold, and magic that can be modified by percussion. So this is actually one of the first things that you'll want to cast as a bard. You'll want to cast Occlusion of Sound at the beginning of a fight so that people can land their tashes and they can land their slows. And then you'll combine Occlusion with Fuful's Curtailing Chant, which has a magic resist debuff as well. And usually with those, the magic resist is so low that almost anything will land on these mobs. It helps out tremendously if you're not too busy. So yeah, OS, Occlusion of Sound. It's a really must-have spell for bards, in my opinion. So, alrighty, thank you guys all for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Let's hope that Velious goes well.